Hi, my name's Marco. I'm a former opera singer turned voice actor. Lichdragon fortissax. That's a mouthful. I have no idea what to expect. This is a true blind react. I'm really curious. I'm playing Elden Ring right now, and I was curious to hear what this piece sounded like. Chances are I wouldn't get to enjoy this music in-game because inevitably I would die. I'm very bad at the game, but I'm enjoying it very much. I'm assuming it's going to be hellacious, though. Quite possibly the best track in the game. What the hell is going on here? That is wild. I love when we have subverted expectations. The organ is very interesting because often we hear the organ in holy places of worship, and I find it kind of interesting that we can also use the organ to express great fear and disdain and disgust. There's a lot of fear that can come from hearing an organ. You know, it reminds me a lot of the church scene from Faust when Mephistopheles shows up to Marguerite as she's praying, and Faust has made a deal with Mephistopheles, and Mephistopheles doesn't want Faust to be too happy because at the end of all this, he gets to have his soul. It's not the same, obviously. This is like in a realm of its own. But there is a moment when she's praying and she's saying, you know, God, will you forgive me? And Mephistopheles says, no, I will not forgive you. And he pretends to be God. And there's this organ playing underneath. It's a wild time for everybody, for sure. It's one of the best scenes from Faust. It's just so powerful when something like the organ, which is incredibly beautiful, and by the way, incredibly difficult to play for all of you organists out there. I don't know if you're out there playing an organ somewhere. I know how difficult it is to play this thing. In a way, it's maybe because, again, I've only seen one picture. I barely looked at it because I was trying to just have a blind react to this. In a lot of ways, perhaps the lichdragon fortissax. Now, I don't know the lore behind the lichdragon clan. Perhaps he is a god. And there's this concept of perhaps there is this holy element there, that the reason why this organ is playing this way is to elicit godliness within this creature that we're fighting. Overpowering us, I'm sure twice the size of the player. Makes sense. As far as the melody there in the cello, it's hard to really like pull it out, but I think it's interesting to use the cello. First of all, you know, just fun fact, the cello is the closest instrument to the voice. Actually, I think the cello and the trombone and the clarinet are the three instruments that people laud as being the closest to the human voice. But I believe that the cello is the closest instrument to being able to replicate human vibrato. And I think the range in where the cello is, because obviously there's violin, viola, cello, bass, and the cello is in the most human range, which makes sense. So this melody in here as well, it could be a song of despair. It could be a song of resignation to having to fight a great giant dragon. I don't know, but I think it's interesting that the cello is used. Let's keep going. What? There are two contrasting melodies here. There's the one that's happening in the strings and in the organ, where we can sort of latch on to that. Now again, melody is used to connect us to pieces, to elicit responses, to feel emotions. Obviously, the Elden Ring soundtrack is, generally speaking, it's being used to highlight the boss, because the bosses are the characters in this game, and the NPCs, of course, but those are few and far between, whereas the bosses are actually more frequent than the NPCs in a lot of ways. So every time we hear a boss theme, that is essentially describing the character for the listener, while also using it as background music because you're so focused on the fight. The music in these games is to enhance the boss fight, I mentioned this in another video, to cause fear, to cause you to have an emotional response to the boss. I remember one time I played Bloodborne at one of the bosses with no music on, and it was really easy, and I beat it in the first go. If I had heard that with the music, I don't think that I would have beaten it in the first go, because I would have had the intensity of the music sort of driving the drama and driving the tension even further. Next time you play one of these games, mute it and see if it's actually easier for you. Elden Ring probably won't be easier for you unless you're some sort of Elden Lord. but then it's interesting that then when the chorus comes back in, we have this pa da 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 da. In some of my previous videos, I mentioned this leaning into dissonance, and the whole chorus does that. The whole choir leans into this. And again, that is to really keep us on a very, very tight rope, a very, very narrow rope where we feel that we could take a tumble and fall and be vanquished at any turn. We're obviously dealing with a creature that's larger than life, larger than the player, and we're dealing with a creature that really is a great, great, great adversary. Also worth noting is that it does sound like, I've said this about other pieces in the FromSoft games, but a messed up church hymn. I may have mentioned this in my Near Shadowlord video, dealing with an unholy god. And I think it's really genius to lean on this sense of, this whole concept of a god that is deadly, and a god that will banish you to hell. Because when the melody comes in, it's an aurally, which means of the ears, an aurally disturbing thing to listen to. And it does slap pretty hard though, especially when you get the timpani in there. Bum 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 bum. Like there's something about that brings out the primal, that brings out the visceral. When we hear timpani banging away like that, it brings out the tension and the drama. It brings out the intensity. It dials it up. It would be intense without the timpani, but when you listen to bum 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 bum, you see the guy slamming the timpani back in the back right corner. It just takes it to a whole nother level. Wow. Cool piece. I mean, it's an insane. Half of these I haven't heard. The FromSoft games really are truly elevated by their soundtrack. That was a trip. I don't know if I'll ever even get to this boss, if I'm honest with you, but I'm glad that we get to spend some time and listen to the music together. So it's fun. I'll talk to you on the next one. See you later. Bye.